Hey, welcome back. I'm Dennis Alster, and this is Getting in the Game. This is all going to be about building these brackets, these support brackets on the inside. The really cool part about it is we actually get to build a part. Originally, I was going to show this is just two techniques, but now that I build another one over there, I come up with a third, which really helps. So if you stick around, I'll tell you all about it. So today, those parts that we're going to build are essentially 90-degree L angles, and one's a little bit wider on this side because this is the one we're going to do so much trim into so it matches the side of the airplane. So you can do these one of two ways. You can do it according to the instructions, or you can make it a little more elaborate, which we're going to go the more elaborate route just so that it doesn't pull the metal down so much in the front. And that's just simply, we're going to put joggles in the front and back, which adds quite a bit of time. So you want to consider whether or not you want to do that because you got 6 of them to build. And I think it's well worth it. But anyway, here we go. Well, I haven't seen anybody else do it like this, but this is what I come up with. I have to find out the 80 degrees there on the firewall, according to the plans. And that was a really straight, flat piece of factory cut from there to there, piece of cardboard. And I put an 80-degree line up it and cut it, and had to go over that hump, but that's the center line, and those blocks of wood are identical, so we're measuring flat off the floor. And this, from here up, this is floppy. I mean, it hinges right on that, so this moves in and out quite a bit. So I'm not measuring that. I'm measuring this down because that's solid now. And it's all Clecoed to the bottom. So with that pushed back, it hits the 80 degrees. I'm just going to check the length measurement from here back and make sure they're identical, but it looks like we can start installing that. And when I go to put the cage on, where it hits up here, this moves back and forth anyway for that dimension. So that'll be great. I was thinking I was going to have to wait and get the back all done before I could start working on the firewall. But the truth is, you got to have that all solidly 80 degrees anyway and done. So that's what I'm going to do next.
Well, I've been looking over the plans for how I'm going to do the seats. And the one thing they've done is they've shortened this box up quite a bit. It used to go way back. So I've got a smaller area to work with for support. So that's going to be interesting. That'll come up in future videos of, I've got the hinges ordered, the hinge material ordered, and that's on back order. So that must be awfully popular. That was very expensive. I was surprised. I think it was a couple $100 for those sticks, but we'll be going over that in the future. But right now we're going to go over how I'm doing the side braces for the kick panels. I'll call them the right and left side kick panels. And they're not quite how they said to do it in the book. The book, they say to lay the metal up there and measure the distance in the center and then make a natural curve from front to back. But I'm going to try scribing because the curve doesn't seem to be, especially down towards the bottom, it doesn't seem to be, the same on both ends. So, and the other thing is, there's an angle iron up here, and I don't want to leave that proud of that for catching yourself on. So I think I found a picture. I'll put that in there. Here's where it shows it flush. You've got these smaller angle irons, or angle aluminum, excuse me. And this one right here is a little bit wider, and they show the back flush with that, and quite a bit cut off. So I'm going to try to do it that route. I really don't care if they're a little further out in the front. I think that the narrower it is, the more strong it is, less flex. And you still have that lip there to be able to put a screw through to put some interior panels if you want. I'm not going to do that at this point. So that, yeah, that's the spot right there. that I got that info from, but most of the other ones show it in the book. This right here is a little hard to see, but to me, that looks a little proud of that. But anyway, here we go. And that one finally fits right flush with it. So I'm happy with that. So this will be my first rough cut. I want to angle the front so that it'll get up in there. Just like that. That's my first cut. And then I'm going to cut this. I'm going to cut this long. That'll give me a good starting point. Scribing can be just as simple as just the width of a pen. So up here in the front, I can lay the pen against the firewall and use that as a reference of the angle. But I'm not going to cut all the way down to that because it'll make it too short. As you can see right here, we've got quite a bit to work with, and it'll take a couple attempts. But the first one, I'm just going to lay this in with the one of these extra short ones helps. Hold it firm to it. But that's the idea right there, as you can see. So that isn't a drastic curve. We're doing a top one. When we get well, there's the first cut. Now the next step I like to do is cut out the notch front and back where it's touching the angle iron. And I can make a little reference mark there. There's where the sheet metal is, and there's a doubler of sheet metal in here, and right there is, so there's two steps. This one's much deeper, and this one's shallower, right there. And then this one is the firewall. So we'll make a little notch there so that can fit around that corner just a hair, and that'll get us to the next scribe. Those will be all smoothed up on the sander later on. Yeah, now here is just touching the metal. This one is completely touching because I made that notch bigger. Let's scribe it again. We still got a long ways to go. So I'll use the full pen width here. I keep trimming these off because they touch first before the side panel does, before the side does here. I want, what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to get this to touch and these to be clear of them. And it's just getting there. There, it's touching all along again. And see how close, I don't know if you can see that good, but we're about a 1/16 of an inch away. So the next line I do, we'll just do with the file. That's touching front and back, really nice. Now what I'm going to do, instead of the pen laying on there, I'm just going to scribe a line with it pushed right against the wall. And believe it or not, see there, it doesn't right here where this goes in a little, and it goes right on there just right. So now we're just going to use the hand file and file that down and fine tune it from there. But we're getting real close. You've already seen that process a couple times. I'm going to go put a new line on it and see where we're at. Just think, we only have 5 more of these to go. Kidding. I'm doing the easy ones first just because, I mean, they have less curve and they're right up there where you can get at them. So that by the time I figure out the techniques, the harder ones will be easier. If that makes sense. Now that it's starting to fit that good, I'm going to take on the sander and get this to fit. But I really want to smooth it up. I don't want no chop marks from my cutters. So that's why I'm gonna switch over to the sander now. Okay, let's get a look-see. This is where we're at. There. But it's touching. I want to be able to have it just sit out of this and not touch back here. I don't know if these tips help, but I fasten something really small down when I get to this point. You could even put a screw in there if you want, but just that little bit of tension with that hook there, you only have to hold it up here, and the rest of it does the trick. Now, if I had a sander, we wouldn't have to do this, but I might be too aggressive with a sander, knowing me, but we're getting really close. As soon as I get those gone, I've been really happy if I wouldn't have done that, but I'm not taking too much off. I don't like having the metal control me instead of me controlling the metal. Well, as you can see, got the 2 bumps sanded in here. Did it on that so that they're nice and smooth. Same with this one here. And when we push this in now, you can feel it hitting that radius. So when I push it down on that piece, we clear there, we clear here, we clear there, we clear in the back. And right here, it wants to touch this outer skin. Just a titch. And we're just level with this now. We're going to end up bending this in because I don't like this sticking out. I'm going to round that corner and just take a little off of here. I can see I don't have to mark it. I can see it's that last 2 inches. I'll be right back. There. Now we got that about a 1/16 inch gap. When I push that down, I hope you can see that. It's fitting really nice. Now I'm just going to clean up all the edges, round this off so that it'll never stick somebody in the leg. What you didn't see me do was I just put this on the rubber and squeezed it lightly so that it would be just past a 90. So when this is riveted down, I want that behind that. And that is just about all you could do. Right there. Next thing is to mark off the holes, drill it, and Cleco it in place.
For those of you that have the rivet finder or the rivet gap thing, I don't even know what they're called, but yeah, I wish I had one of those. I don't have much of that to do on this build, but man, it is time consuming and It's not terrible, but it's just so much easier probably with one of those tools. And pitch 40, that's probably why they recommended pitch 40. I don't know if this is easy for you to see, but putting this on here is going to be a little trickier than I thought, because once it's laid up there, when you drill down through there, believe it or not, that is really in your way, this upper piece right here. And I can go in it at an angle, but it would be, if I'm back here, you can see the angle, and it don't have much room. So what I'm going to do is I know where to start my first one, and then I can mark it, take that off, and get that one Clecoed together. And if I can get the front one done and that same method, then I can drill them all off the plane. But I'm going to have to take that thing off the plane at least twice. First one I'm just going to mark. That's all I can do. And then take it off. Because I really can't drill that. Well, we got that Clecoed, and I verified that we're flush here, and we've got about a 1/16 inch gap in the back. Now I've just got to go up here. There's enough room in the front, I think, for a long drill. So I'll be able to put a As you can see that the gap is pretty good in there in the front, but as you come back, it tightens up and then it gets loose again here towards the rear, which way I want. I don't want it that tight. That probably is touching. So I'm gonna run a marker down that and get that sanded up. Now that I've sanded it and made that purple line half the size it was, so now the gap is perfect. As you can see that the inside angle iron is touching that radius. That's the distance I need though to go past, or not go past this. I'm gonna sand that inside one just a little bit and then it'll sit in that radius. The rest has got plenty of gap. So now that I know that distance, so that it doesn't go past that angle iron, so that it doesn't go past that angle in the back, I'll sand that and I'll show you now the technique that I used on the other side, now that we've got that, where you just make this piece, and when you know that it's flush with the curve and not wobbling front and back and pulling tension when you put in the Clecos, you can put this piece on, you can put this upper piece on, the distance in the back where it's just touching the radius, and whatever gap you want in the front, draw a line underneath and you'll be rearing to go. No more scribing. So I'm going to do the next one. I'm going to do the next one that way and just see how it comes out. Of course, you just mark a center line on here so that we can get one hole drilled. Now, what I'm going to pay more attention to on this one than I did on the others is where I'm going to put the crimps and the 40 pitch. The 40 pitch I marked out. I want that starting 10 millimeters back, roughly right there. That will be a rivet, 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 rivet. So a frog. Well, that's looking pretty good. Just like that. The only problem is now, is it's sitting up on top of that other metal back here. So on top of being a joggle, they have to be bent too, slightly in. Time for the joggles. Go test the joggle. Now I like to have this whole end tipped down a little. I'm putting this 90 up inside on that part of the jog and just trying to rotate this slightly down. I don't know if I can show it on film very good, but now to get that joggle to get this metal even further in, I'm going to give these two a good crank. And go give it a look. As you can see, that's the front one, and that's the back one. I just put the front Cleco in. I'll try to get this so you can see it. That joggle. This joggle now is letting that metal get closer to the sheet but I've still not got a big enough curve. I can't see the sheet metal move in the front, but there's a little tension there, just a little. Getting really close. What I like to do once I get it that close is mark the back hole. Cleco it in place. It's not really hitting as much as it is twisting. It needs a little more twist. One of the things you got to consider is what we said earlier is how far do you want to take each step? You could easily have this done with their step, their way of doing it. Time to match drill these side holes to it. Make sure my finger's in the way. Nice. All right, that's fitting between there, except it is touching. I'll do the rest on the sander. All right, we got those edges sanded, and I'll let you watch over the shoulder how I'm going to do this next part. This is the part that actually makes it the third way, the third technique. We're not going to scribe this to the wall. All right, this is what makes it the third. Instead of setting this in there and scribing it and cutting it until we're all the way in, I'm just going to simply lay this on top. Look at where it's hooked. We're about 1/8 of an inch away from the firewall. All I gotta do is line this on top of it, about 1/8 of an inch forward. I don't mind that being away just a hair, having more material up here in the front where your feet are. You don't even see that up there. But I'm lined up 1/8 of an inch forward of this piece. And there's your 3/4 of an inch. And the wall, of course, is going to follow that line right there. So just reach in there. And do that. That should give us it. And then just continue this back on a natural angle. Now let's go cut that on the bandsaw and see how close we are. Now for the exciting part. Put this back in. That's the cut. Looks a little wobbly right here, so that's going to have to be trimmed down. Look at that. I love it. I love it when a plan comes together. It's touching on that L angle. And that's where we got to take that little extra off. And you can see the difference. The distance here is out slightly. And of course I squeeze these to get that angle underneath behind there. But anyway, that's with it touching at the front with just one shot in the back. And we'll do that little L angle notch and it should be ready for final sand. If I can show you, I got the two jiggy jaws. There's one piece of metal here and then this big heavy support, as you can see. And that enabled it to get much closer in the back. The front one we only had to do just for the firewall, and that one's fitting good. And with one cut, we got it. All I have to do now is, because I got that little bit of low spot right there, all I got to do is sand down that high spot, curve that with a file to my liking, and after I twist that in a little, she's ready to go in. So next step, sanding. I got a recap for you too on the motor mounts. Roger sent me 2 more out that were 96s, I believe. And I welded on them, and I'll show you real quick. This is the one that I took the side off and put the side back on and narrowed it back here some. I really like that one so far. This one, I didn't want to take the side off. What I did is, it was closer, but I tried to weld in the inside edge to get a bead so I could grind the bead off here and make it fit flusher. And that would work. It was that close, I could get away with it. But this weld got really in the path of where my first bolt and second bolt were supposed to go. So that one's out. So I ordered 2 more, and we'll see how those fit. Oh, the other thing is, because of these being so far off, he sent me those 2 out free. I didn't ask him for another set, of course. I ordered those myself, and I'm going to pay for them. Ta-da! Now you can see that mark goes from front to back. Even though it hasn't been neatened up with 400 sandpaper yet, it is exactly where I needed it. I just got to twist it so that bottom piece right there sticks under a little more, and I can start marking and drilling. So those are the 3 different methods. I hope this helps. It's just part of the journey, and I sure have been enjoying making these little parts that aren't all pre-made for you. It's a good time. Hope you guys enjoy your builds, and we'll see you in the next one.